Welcome back to the Michael Cohen Show on our continued journey to 250,000 subscribers. Now we're about 4,000 shy, so hit subscribe, watch the full thing, but most importantly, share with your friends because there's so much going on, and who better to hear it from than me? So remember that yesterday I was talking to you all about Pete Hegseth's confirmation, and I turned around and I said that I believe Pete Hegseth will be confirmed because Republican senators, they don't have a backbone to stand up to somebody that they know is wholeheartedly unqualified. Well, this week, they have also been cowards in saying that we should condition the aid that goes to California after the devastating wildfire, which, by the way, is still raging. Now, on Monday, I want to show you, this is what Speaker MAGA Mike Johnson had to say. Play the clip.
Are you open to providing aid to California without any conditions at all?
I think we've got to have a serious conversation about that. Obviously, there's been water resource mismanagement, forest management mistakes, all sorts of problems. And it does come down to leadership, and it appears to us that state and local leaders were derelict in their duty in many respects. So that's something that has to be factored in. I think there should probably be conditions on that aid. That's my personal view. We'll see what the consensus is. I haven't had a chance to socialize that with any of the members over the weekend because we've all been very busy, but it'll be part of the discussion for sure.
What about the debt limit increase? What about tying the debt limit increase to it?
There's some discussion about that, but we'll see where it goes.
Listen, MAGA Mike knows that his entire position there as Speaker rests upon Donald Trump. And so all that he's doing there is just parroting what we are hearing again and again and again out of that group. I mean, it's just terrible. We're talking about Americans. We're not talking about, you want to say, okay, aid to Ukraine needs to be conditioned. I can go with that. They turn around and say aid to Israel, right, needs to be conditioned. I can even go with that. Wouldn't be happy, but I could even go with that. But to our own American citizens that are going through this devastation, we certainly didn't do that to Florida when Florida was ravaged by typhoons and by hurricanes again and again and again. We talk about water management. Well, let's talk about improper construction. No, they don't want to hear that. We need aid. We need aid. And so they were given aid. All right. Then I want to show you what Senator Roger Marshall went on. He goes on, of course, Fox News, and he parroted the exact same sentiment. Disgraceful. But play the clip.
There should be conditions on federal aid for California. Strings, should they be attached?
Yes, Stu, well, absolutely. And I just remind all your listeners that whether in the past when we've given money for hurricane relief in Louisiana, wherever it is, there have been strings attached. Point number two is let's not forget the people in North Carolina, the flood victims that still don't have homes as well. But we do need strings attached. We need accountability. We need to make sure that these monies, and they're talking about $150 billion, that they're invested in the right place. We've seen California mismanage their forests and mismanage their water. 95% of the rainfall in California ends up in the ocean. So absolutely, we need some strings.
So what kind of strings? I mean, should President Trump, should he say, look, California, you made a mess of it last time, especially with these climate rules, repeal them, or you don't get any money. Yep. Would you go that far?
You know, absolutely. Again, I think we need to say, here's the guardrails where the money can be invested.
Yeah. Once again, unfortunately, a lot of misinformation being put out there. And then even last night, and I don't understand this one. Maybe one of you could explain it to me. Kevin O'Leary. Yeah, Shark Tank Kevin O'Leary. I happen to know him. Great guy, very bright. But now he's now providing his opinion on whether or not California aid should be conditioned as well. I didn't know Kevin O'Leary is in the government. Play the clip.
Peace. Kevin, you're up.
New idea. All that recovery aid that Gavin Newsom and Mayor Bass are asking from the federal government, tie it to a package where they both get whacked because they're so incompetent and it's time to get rid of them. I think the Californian taxpayer and certainly every American taxpayer would love that idea.
Just
You
gonna
heard it here first. Thank
Clarify
you.
for you, politically whacked is what you
I mean, yes, remove their services. Get rid of them.
Okay.
The old-fashioned way. It's a whackatola.
Gotcha.
Again, Kevin O'Leary's a really bright guy. But what does he have to do with this issue? It's no different than putting me on to talk about whether or not aid should be given. First of all, Kevin doesn't even know the facts of what's going on there. He's never read any of the proposals regarding the water or the forest management. They just have him on. Why? Because he's well known and because it creates eyeballs, misinformation, disinformation, malinformation. Now, of course, I want to show you what the Democrats' response was to this nonsense. And I want to show you Hakeem Jeffries, who's discussing the aid issue. Now, I don't even have to go to the clip yet before you already know what he's going to say. So play the clip.
We had a discussion about this today in the House Democratic Caucus, and the consensus position, I think it's fair to say, is that we do not support conditioning any aid to everyday Americans whose lives have been wiped out as a result of extreme weather events, and in this case, in California, by these raging wildfires. Homes have been destroyed, schools have been destroyed, small businesses have been destroyed, churches and synagogues and mosques have been destroyed or are in harm's way, and it is unconscionable that Republicans are suggesting imposing right-wing partisan conditions in order for California taxpayers to receive their tax dollars. California is one of those states, in fact, that sends about 5 times as much to the federal government every year than they get back in return. And so we've got to be there for the people of California. We will be there for the people of California, just as we have been for others across the country.
Yeah, Hakeem could say whatever he wants. You're only going to be there if Republicans are going to say so. You don't control the House, you don't control the Senate, and you don't control the White House. So again, big talk from Hakeem Jeffries. But here's the bigger problem. What he should have started talking about is, yes, mismanagement of the money. If you're going to send $4 billion, $5 billion, or whatever the amount is going to be, I would like to know how that money is being doled out. I want to remind everybody here, and if you don't believe this, I want you to Google it, because most people are completely unaware. This happens to be accurate. When Donald Trump was president of the United States and COVID hit in the first big tranche of the COVID relief, it was like, what, $3 trillion or something like that? There's $1 trillion missing from COVID relief. You know that? $1 trillion. We're not talking, and nobody knows in government where the hell that money went. Really? In your business, if $1 is missing, do you not know where that money? A fucking $1 trillion is missing from COVID relief, and nobody knows where it went? And that doesn't turn around and piss you off? It certainly does for me, because that missing money could easily rebuild California without even having to go into the coffers. Now, I want to bring you to Governor Gavin Newsom, who went on MSNBC, and he spoke about the threat of conditioned aid. And again, before I play the clip, I want to reemphasize, I am all for setting up a bipartisan commission in order to ensure that the money goes to the right place and that it's not wasted, because that's what this country has really, that's what's pissing off everybody in this country. It's the fraud, the waste, the abuse that our government, that DC permits. Play the clip.
This is already going to be the most costly outbreak of wildfires in American history, and you're going to need a tremendous amount of resources. You called a special session of the legislature back in yesterday to hopefully sign into law new funding, additional funding for wildfires in the next couple of days. And just to be clear, because this is an area where there's been a little bit of misinformation, you want that wildfire disaster relief funding to go forward on its own as quickly as possible?
100%, yeah. Unlike what's happening in the federal government, where they're trying to condition the debt ceiling to disaster recovery for Americans in the state of California, we'll never condition any of that It has to be clean, $2.5 billion, let it go. And that's just a down payment. That's just an immediate down payment with all the other support from the SBA and FEMA and philanthropy and, of course, all the work that we're doing to hold insurance companies accountable to moving claims forward. I just met with 40 plus leaders in the insurance industry, CEOs and presidents. We just had to come to Jesus on making sure it's a transparent process, a responsible process. We're going to hold folks accountable to actually getting checks in people's hands. At the same time, we also talked about the stress on the insurance market, not just the insurance market with the private insurers, but the FAIR plan in California, which is not a government plan, but it is a syndicate pool where the exposure obviously is going to be profound and significant. And we're making determinations, stress testing the ability to pay those claims as well.
Listen, let me be clear about something. While I happen to think the world of Gavin Newsom, I think he's a great governor. Now, I don't give a shit about the insurance company, and neither should you. You see, the insurance companies, they don't want to pay out claims because all they want to do is create profit so that they could send the profit off to their shareholders and increase price per share, right, on the market. That's what they want to do. Well, tough shit. Everybody made their payments. They have insurance. Now fucking pay up. What do you mean we have to worry about whether or not they can? Well, that's a real fucking problem if I've ever heard one. And you know what? Our tax dollars from out of state shouldn't be going within which to offset losses by insurance carriers who for years upon years upon years have been sending their shareholders dividends based upon the profitability. No, bullshit. All right? Complete and total bullshit. All right. I also want to show you where Gavin Newsom then turns around and says that Donald Trump himself, and I don't understand why Donald hasn't. He loves California. He had a house in California. He's got a golf course in California. Why doesn't he come to California and see the devastation for himself? Right? Play that clip.
Honored and proud to represent these folks. And I desperately plead with them. Come out here. Help us. And we will help you. You'll be elevated, Mr. President. At the end of the day, you'll be the one we all will go to and say, thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you for living up to the values of this country. Thank you for having the backs of these families and these kids. I met a kid the other day, literally was driving away. Their house was on fire in the Palisades. And the young daughter said, Daddy, did you get my bunny? And he said, I didn't get your bunny. I got 4 kids. Mm-hmm. That's what I hope that President of the United States, President Trump, has an opportunity to meet with that family.
You know, honestly, very gracious of him after, of course, Trump refers to him as Newscum instead of Newsom, where during the same interview, they brought up, about Trump's nickname for him. And Gavin Newsom said, doesn't bother me. Play the clip.
This is serious. And, I get it. They want to take us. I get it. I'm not naive. I get the California derangement syndrome. I've been living with that for years and years. New scum. The same 7th grade. I remember the guy on Baltimore Avenue that called me new scum. I was in 7th grade. I can handle that. We'll leave that aside. I understand what they're trying to do. I want to work with them. It's not about me. It's about people that we both represent. He represents and I represent, and I'm honored and proud to represent these folks.
Listen, honorable, truly an honorable statement. Now, lastly, as we near the inauguration, and Biden, of course, will be leaving office, I want to show you a clip of Gavin Newsom speaking about Biden's impact on the wildfires in comparison to what we're getting out right now from the new incoming administration. Play that clip.
He said, pal, you got it. We have their backs. Express empathy. I had firefighters that went up to him and they had tears in his eyes after meeting Joe Biden, who was consoling them. I think that's an example for the incoming president.
Listen, this is a raging wildfire that is destroying the lives of so many of my friends that live there, family members. All right. This is really no joke. And as far as I'm concerned, these are Americans, and it is our job. It is our job to ensure that we protect one another. And as always, thanks for listening. Hey everyone. First of all, thanks for watching. I mean, we're going to be posting daily episodes with reactions and talking about politics. We'll be talking about everything, in fact. So please like and subscribe. Join us on this journey.